Karak stood among his squad, adjusting his helmet as he surveyed the desolate landscape of the human-occupied planet. The air was thick with dust, the barren terrain littered with debris from countless skirmishes. This mission was routine for him and his fellow Saracen soldiers. Take out a human rebel base, eliminate any resistance, and move on. His mind was calm, a well-oiled machine of strategy and precision. Their technology was light years ahead of what the humans could muster, and with their energy-based weapons, the fight would be over before the humans even knew what hit them. He glanced at the sleek weapons his team carried. Saracen energy rifles, silent, deadly, capable of incinerating a target with a single shot. He could feel the hum of his own rifle at his side, its power always steady, always ready. These weapons were a symbol of their superiority, proof that the Saraxians were a force of unmatched prowess. Humans, on the other hand, were stuck in the past, relying on outdated projectile weapons that were clumsy and inefficient. Karak's thoughts drifted as his squad moved in formation, each Saracen a testament to discipline and perfection. The humans didn't stand a chance. Their inferiority was a given, and Karak's mind often wondered how they had even lasted this long in the war. To him, the very idea of fighting with bullets, with crude machines from an ancient era, was laughable. The briefing had mentioned rumors, though. Some rebels, it was said, still clung to those old weapons. It didn't matter. They were no match for the Saracen arsenal. The mere thought of being threatened by a human gun was absurd. Karak and his squad didn't discuss it much. It was a footnote, an irrelevant piece of trivia. They had far more advanced concerns. As they approached the outskirts of the rebel base, Karak signaled his team to spread out. The plan was simple: move in, eliminate all resistance, extract any valuable intelligence, and leave the wreckage for the scavengers. His confidence was unwavering. Their advanced scanners had already pinpointed the positions of the human soldiers inside. There was no need for caution. Karak's heart beat steadily as the first shots were fired. His squad cut through the human defenses with ease, their energy rifles slicing through walls, armor, and flesh without a sound. The humans, as expected, were disorganized, desperate, throwing themselves at the Saraxians with a mix of fear and determination that Karak almost found pitiable. They were not soldiers, just a ragtag group of survivors trying to hold on to what little they had left. In the midst of the carnage, something unexpected happened. A loud crack echoed across the battlefield, different from the quiet efficiency of the energy rifles. Karak whipped around just in time to see one of his comrades drop to the ground motionless. A single hole had been torn through his armor. Karak froze, his eyes wide. That was no energy weapon. He had seen a gun like that in history archives, but only in the context of ancient human warfare. Another crack, then another. His heart pounded as he located the source. A human soldier, hunkered down behind a ruined wall, was firing an old gun, an ancient relic by Saracen standards. The projectiles, primitive as they were, had killed a Saracen in one shot. Karak couldn't believe it. His training had taught him to dismiss these weapons as irrelevant, but the body of his fallen comrade said otherwise. His instincts kicked in, and he fired a blast from his rifle, disintegrating the human gunner in a flash. But the image of that gun, of the bullet tearing through armor, stuck with him. Karak stood there for a moment, breathing heavily, his mind spinning. How could something so outdated be so deadly? He scanned the battlefield, his eyes now searching for more signs of these crude weapons. His squad regrouped, unaware of the storm building in Karak's thoughts. The mission was a success, technically. The human base was in ruins, its defenders decimated. But Karak wasn't thinking about victory. His mind was on that gun, and how something so seemingly primitive could defy everything he had been taught. He stared down at his energy rifle, the once comforting hum now a distant noise in his head. The ease with which that bullet had torn through his comrade's armor replayed in his mind. In the quiet aftermath of the battle, Karak found himself standing at a crossroads, his unshakable belief in Saracen's superiority now riddled with doubt. The return to base was somber, not because of the loss, but because Karak's thoughts were now elsewhere. What else had he underestimated? Could it be that there was more to human technology than they had assumed? Karak stood over the fallen human soldier, the gun still clutched in the dead man's hand. It seemed so simple, so primitive, yet undeniably powerful. He hesitated only for a moment before bending down, glancing around to ensure none of his comrades were watching. He picked it up, feeling the cold metal against his skin, the weight unfamiliar but not unwelcome. His heart raced. There was no reason to take it, this weapon was obsolete. Everything he had been taught screamed at him to leave it behind, to forget the anomaly he had witnessed. But something deeper, an unsettling curiosity, made him slip it into his pack, hidden from view. As they regrouped, Karak could feel the unease building inside him. He didn't understand why he felt drawn to the gun, but there it was, pulling at him. His mind raced with questions. Could their teachings have been wrong? How could something so backward kill one of their own so easily? His comrades walked in silence, none of them aware of the turmoil stirring in Karak's thoughts. He was beginning to question everything. The Saraxians had always been told that humans were weak, technologically stagnant. And yet, this human weapon had proven more effective than any Saracian energy rifle in that moment. When they reached the rendezvous point, his unease only grew. He was barely listening to the debriefing, his thoughts dominated by the gun in his pack. Why did it fascinate him so much? He had never questioned Saracian superiority before. But now, doubt gnawed at him, persistent and uncomfortable. He knew he couldn't ignore it. Later, when Karak rejoined his squad, one of them noticed something off in his demeanor. What's wrong with you, Karak? His comrade asked, a hint of suspicion creeping into his tone. He couldn't hide his unease any longer. The moment they saw him pull the human gun from his pack, the atmosphere shifted. They exchanged glances, their eyes narrowing in disbelief and disgust. What is that? Another comrade spat, eyeing the gun like it was a diseased object. Karak stood firm, his voice steady, though uncertainty gnawed at him. It's a weapon, he replied. It killed one of us. And I want to know why. Laughter followed his words, sharp and dismissive. You're seriously holding that relic? One sneered. That's beneath you, beneath all of us. We have energy rifles. You don't need that primitive junk. Karak's gaze darkened, but he didn't relent. He knew how it looked, but the doubt in his mind couldn't be pushed aside. It worked, he said quietly. It killed. We dismissed these humans, their weapons, their technology, but we just lost one of our own to a single bullet. The mood shifted from ridicule to suspicion. One of the soldiers stepped forward, his expression cold. You're questioning our way, Karak? The tension was palpable. No one challenged Saracian doctrine lightly. Their rigid belief in their superiority was the foundation of their existence, of their war. Karak didn't flinch, but he felt the weight of his words pressing down on him. I'm questioning what I saw with my own eyes, he replied, his voice steady but strained. His comrades, once his brothers, now looked at him with growing disdain. He realized that he was alone in this. They couldn't, or wouldn't, see what he had seen. The tension hung in the air even as they moved into their next mission. Karak's mind was clouded with doubt, but he couldn't let go of the gun. When the next battle erupted, the Saraxians engaged with their usual cold efficiency, cutting down the human resistance with their energy rifles. But amidst the chaos, Karak found himself cornered by a human squad. In the flurry of the fight, his rifle was knocked from his hand. Instinctively, without thinking, he drew the human gun from his pack and fired. The loud crack echoed in his ears, so different from the silent hum of Saracian energy weapons. But the result was undeniable. The human soldiers fell, one after another, their bodies dropping to the ground in a heap. Karak stood there stunned. His heart raced. The ease with which the gun had worked, it was almost too simple. The power was real, tangible. His squad arrived moments later, too late to witness his use of the gun but just in time to see the aftermath. His comrades looked at him with a mixture of awe and suspicion, but no one said anything at first. Later, during the debrief, whispers spread. Word of his actions had already reached their commanding officers. His use of the human weapon had not gone unnoticed. "Karak," one of his squad mates finally muttered, *. "What are you doing?" *. He didn't answer. He didn't have an answer. The truth was, he didn't know what he was doing. All he knew was that he couldn't shake the feeling that everything he had believed about humans, about their weapons, was wrong. The whispers grew louder as the days passed. His comrades eyed him warily, some avoiding him altogether. The leadership, too, had taken notice. Karak was now a liability in their eyes. His fascination with the human gun had marked him as different, as dangerous. He had broken an unspoken code by using a weapon they had long dismissed as inferior. He felt the rising tension, the unspoken accusations from his comrades. He was no longer one of them. He had crossed a line, and he wasn't sure there was any going back. The human gun had done more than kill an enemy. It had shattered the certainty he had once held so tightly. Now, he was a soldier caught between two worlds, unsure of where he belonged. As the rumors spread, Karak realized that the path ahead would only grow darker. His superiors would soon call for him, and when they did, they wouldn't just be asking questions. They would be watching him, waiting for him to make a mistake. And deep down, he knew that mistake would come. The gun, with all its primitive power, had opened his eyes, and now he couldn't unsee the truth. The mission had gone wrong from the start. The Saraxians had expected another quick victory, but this time, the humans were ready. They'd fortified their positions, and something felt different about the way they fought. The Saracian squad found themselves pinned down, their energy rifles ineffective against the humans' heavy defenses. Karak had hesitated, his hand instinctively reaching for the human gun he had hidden. But the moment he used it, things spiraled. When the retreat order came, Karak's squad looked at him with disgust, their eyes narrowing as they regrouped. *. "You think that toy of theirs helped?" *1 sneered. They didn't need to say it outright. Karak's reliance on the human gun had tainted the mission. Tensions rose as the blame silently fell on him, their glares accusing him of betrayal. In their eyes, the mission had failed because Karak had chosen to wield a human weapon instead of relying on their superior technology. When the order came for Karak to report to Commander Jala, he knew what was coming. His comrades didn't even hide their disdain as he made his way to the command center. Inside, Jala stood waiting, her cold gaze fixed on him as he entered. "Explain yourself, Karak," she said, her voice devoid of emotion. The silence in the room was suffocating. Karak stood firm, his jaw clenched. "We failed the mission because we underestimated the humans," he began, choosing his words carefully. Their technology, what we consider primitive, works. Their weapons can kill us just as easily as ours can kill them. We're not invincible. Jala's eyes flashed with anger. "You used a human weapon," she stated, her tone sharp. "You abandoned your training, your people, to use their filth." She stepped closer, towering over him, her presence overwhelming. "Do you understand the gravity of what you've done?" Karak felt the weight of her words, but the anger boiling inside him wouldn't let him back down. "We're losing because we refuse to see what's right in front of us." He snapped. "The humans are adapting. They're using their weapons effectively, and we dismiss them out of arrogance. We're stuck in the past, blind to anything that isn't Saracen." Jalo's eyes narrowed. "You dare question the leadership?" Her voice was cold, dangerous. "We are superior. We have always been superior. It is not for you to decide how we fight." Karak's fists clenched at his sides. "Superior?" He spat. One bullet from that primitive weapon killed a soldier faster than any energy rifle ever could. We are not untouchable, and if we don't adapt, if we don't learn from what's working for them, we will fall. Asterisk. Jala shook her head, a bitter smile creeping onto her face. Asterisk. You sound like a traitor, Karak. You've allowed their weakness to infect your mind. The Saraxians do not change. We do not lower ourselves to the level of humans. Asterisk. Karak could feel the walls closing in around him. There was no reasoning with her, no opening for debate. He had crossed the line. You're condemning us, he said, his voice hard. Asterisk. If we don't evolve, we will die, just like every other stagnant species in history. Asterisk. Jala raised her hand, signaling the guards standing by the door. Enough, she said, her voice dripping with finality. Asterisk. You've spoken like a traitor. You will die like one. Asterisk. She turned her back to him as the guards advanced. Karak's mind raced. He couldn't let it end like this, not after everything he had realized. As the guards approached, he acted on instinct. With a swift movement, he pulled the human gun from his pack. The crack of gunfire echoed through the room, and the guards fell, their energy shields useless against the bullets. Jala spun around, her eyes wide with shock. Karak didn't hesitate. He moved quickly, disarming Jala before she could react, forcing her to the ground. Her eyes blazed with fury as she struggled against him. You're making a mistake, she hissed. No, Karak said quietly, his breath steady. Asterisk. The mistake is believing we're untouchable. Asterisk. He left her there, disarmed and furious, as he made his escape. He knew the entire Saracen military would be after him now. There was no turning back. As he fled through the corridors, his heart pounded. He had just committed treason. There was no going back to the life he once knew. He was a fugitive now, hunted by his own people. But he felt no regret, only a strange sense of clarity. His mind raced as he navigated the base's underground network, searching for a way out. That's when he found it, a hidden terminal deep within the base, something the average soldier wouldn't have access to. Out of desperation, he hacked into the system, and what he found left him speechless. The Saracen leadership had known all along. They knew about the effectiveness of human weapons. They had hidden the truth, suppressing any knowledge that might challenge the Saracen belief in their own superiority. The data files were extensive, detailing every engagement where human projectile weapons had been more effective than Saracen technology. And yet, instead of adapting, instead of evolving, the leadership had buried the information, choosing pride over survival. Karak stared at the screen in disbelief. Everything he had been taught, everything he had believed, was a lie. He didn't have time to process it all. His escape was already underway, but now he carried with him not only the knowledge of human strength but the damning truth about his own people. The Saraxians had chosen to remain blind, and now, Karak would be hunted for daring to see. As the alarms blared around him, Karak slipped into the shadows, his heart heavy with the realization that he was no longer Saracen, not truly. He was something else now, a soldier with no allegiance, armed with the knowledge that his people's downfall would come, not from the strength of their enemies, but from their own stubborn refusal to change. Karak moved swiftly through the undergrowth, his mind racing with the decision he had made. There was no going back to the Saraxians now. His only hope was to seek out the humans, the very ones he had once fought against, and offer his help. He knew their resistance forces were scattered, barely holding on, but they had something his people lacked, a willingness to adapt. If anyone could stand a chance against the Saraxians, it was them. He approached their makeshift camp cautiously, his hands raised in a gesture of peace. The humans spotted him immediately, their weapons trained on him in seconds. Suspicion was evident in their eyes, and Karak couldn't blame them. To them, he was an enemy, an alien who had probably slaughtered their comrades. But he had no choice. He needed them now as much as they needed him. "I'm not here to fight you," he said in their language, his voice steady despite the tension. Asterisk. I know how the Saraxians think. I know their tactics. And I can help you. Asterisk. The human soldiers exchanged wary glances, unsure if they could trust him. One of the leaders stepped forward, a hardened woman with a steely gaze. Asterisk. Why would we trust you? Asterisk, she asked, her tone sharp. Asterisk. You've killed us. You're one of them. Asterisk. Karak met her gaze without flinching. I was one of them, he replied. Asterisk. But not anymore. They've turned their backs on me, and now I see the truth. The Saraxians refuse to change, and that will be their downfall. I can show you how to fight them, how to win. Asterisk. The leader hesitated, the weight of her decision clear on her face. She didn't trust him, how could she? But there was something in Karak's eyes, something in the way he spoke that convinced her, even if just for a moment, that he might be telling the truth. We'll see, she said finally. Asterisk. But if you betray us, I'll kill you myself. Asterisk. In the days that followed, Karak found himself training alongside the human soldiers. It was strange at first, working with those he had once considered inferior, but as the days passed, he came to respect their ingenuity. They didn't have the advanced technology of the Saraxians, but what they lacked in tools, they made up for in sheer adaptability. They were survivors, constantly evolving, constantly finding new ways to push back. Karak taught them what he knew of Saracen tactics, how they moved, how they thought in battle. In return, the humans showed him their way of fighting. He watched them train, their focus on precision and improvisation. The way they handled their guns, the very weapons he had once considered primitive, now seemed like a work of art. Each human had a unique style, a way of adapting the weapon to suit their needs. It was this flexibility that impressed him the most. One evening, after a particularly grueling training session, Karak sat with the human leader by a fire. They had grown to respect one another, even if there was still an undercurrent of suspicion between them. You're not like them, she said quietly, watching the flames flicker. Asterisk. You think for yourself. That's rare. Asterisk. Karak stared into the fire, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts. I was blind for so long, he admitted. Asterisk. We were taught that you were beneath us, that your weapons were relics of a past best forgotten. But I see now that we were wrong. You've survived because you adapt. The Saraxians, we don't know how to change. We cling to the idea that we're superior, but it's just pride. Pride will get us killed. Asterisk. The leader nodded, her expression softening just a little. Pride's a dangerous thing, she said. Asterisk. But you're here now. That counts for something. Asterisk. As the days turned into weeks, preparations for the final battle intensified. The humans knew the Saraxians were coming, and they had little time left to prepare. Karak worked tirelessly alongside them, but as the moment of confrontation drew nearer, doubts began to creep in. He was about to face his own people in battle. Could he truly fight against them, kill them, knowing they were as much a part of him as the humans now were? One night, as the camp was quiet and the stars shone overhead, Karak stood alone, staring out into the distance. The weight of what was to come pressed heavily on him. He had turned his back on his people, on everything he had once known, but that didn't make the decision any easier. The Saraxians had been wrong, but they were still his kin. Could he truly go through with this? The human leader approached him quietly, sensing his inner turmoil. Asterisk. It's hard, isn't it? Asterisk, she said softly. Asterisk. Turning against your own. Asterisk. Karak didn't look at her, his eyes still fixed on the horizon. It feels like betraying them, he admitted. Asterisk. Even though I know they've already betrayed me. Asterisk. She stood beside him, silent for a moment before speaking again. Asterisk. Sometimes doing the right thing feels like betrayal. But you know what you have to do. And when the time comes, you'll make the choice that feels right, not the one that's easy. Asterisk. Her words lingered in his mind as the final preparations were made. The tension in the camp was palpable, every soldier aware that the battle ahead would determine their future. Karak watched as they armed themselves, as they checked their weapons and ran final drills. They were ready as they would ever be. Karak stood apart, his hand resting on the human gun that had become his constant companion. He had come to respect the weapon, just as he had come to respect the humans who wielded it. And now, as the moment of truth approached, he knew that he had changed. He was no longer the Saracen soldier who blindly followed orders. He was something different now, something more. The battle loomed, and Karak knew that soon he would have to make his choice. It wouldn't be easy, but nothing about his journey had been. All he could do now was stand beside the humans and face the storm together. The battle began at dawn. Karak stood with the human resistance, watching as the Saracen war machines approached over the horizon. Their sleek, polished armor gleamed in the sunlight, a reminder of the technological superiority they still believed in. The humans, by contrast, were rough, their weapons worn and battle-scarred. But they were ready. They had prepared for this moment, combining their tactics with what Karak had taught them about Saracen weaknesses. Karak felt the tension in the air as the humans set up their positions. This time, it was different. This time, they were not simply defending, they were fighting back with a strategy that blended their adaptability with Karak's insider knowledge. Energy rifles met human guns, and the battlefield erupted in a storm of fire and light. The Saracens advanced, their energy shields raised, expecting to overwhelm the humans with their superior technology. But they were met with something they hadn't anticipated, a force that had learned how to counter them. Karak moved through the chaos, his gun steady in his hands. He fought alongside the humans, knowing that he was no longer the soldier he had once been. Each shot fired was a step further from the rigid beliefs he had grown up with. The Saracens were still fighting as they always had, precise, methodical, but the humans, unpredictable and relentless, began to push them back. For every energy blast, a well-placed bullet found its mark, breaking through the cracks in Saracen armor. Karak's heart raced as he saw familiar faces among the enemy ranks, soldiers he had once trained with, fought beside. But now they were his enemies. As the battle raged on, Karak's mind remained clear, focused. His transformation was complete. He no longer saw the Saracens as untouchable, nor the humans as weak. They were all warriors, fighting for survival, but it was the humans who had the advantage because they could change, adapt, evolve. The ground shook as the Saracen heavy infantry advanced. Among them was Commander Jala, her presence unmistakable. Karak's heart clenched when he saw her. She moved through the battlefield with the same cold efficiency that had once inspired him. But now, she was the embodiment of everything he had come to reject: rigid superiority, blind faith in the old ways. Their eyes locked across the battlefield, and Karak knew the confrontation was inevitable. As he moved toward her, the world around them seemed to slow. Jala noticed him, her expression hardening. She raised her energy rifle, and Karak braced himself, gripping the human gun tightly in his hand. "Traitor!" Jala hissed as she stepped forward, her voice filled with contempt. Asterisk. "You've chosen the losing side." Asterisk. Karak shook his head, his voice calm despite the chaos around them. Asterisk. "No, Jala. I've chosen the only side that can win." Asterisk. She fired, but Karak was ready. He dodged her blast, returning fire with his gun. The bullets shattered her energy shield, forcing her to retreat momentarily. Karak advanced, closing the distance between them. Jala's fury was palpable, but Karak remained steady. This was not just a battle of weapons, it was a clash of ideals. Jala represented everything Karak had once believed in, everything he had rejected. "You're weak," Jala spat, circling him. Asterisk. "You've let these humans corrupt you. You could have been great, but you threw it all away." Asterisk. Karak met her gaze, unflinching. "Greatness isn't about clinging to the past," he said, leveling his weapon. Asterisk. "It's about learning, adapting. That's something you'll never understand." Asterisk. Jala lunged at him, her energy blade drawn, but Karak was faster. He sidestepped her attack and fired again, this time hitting her leg. She fell to the ground, her face contorted in pain and disbelief. Karak stood over her, breathing heavily, his gun still trained on her. "This is where it ends, Jala," he said, his voice steady. Asterisk. "Not just for you, but for everything we once stood for. The Saraxians will fall if they don't change. And you're proof of that." Asterisk. Jala glared up at him, defiant to the last. But Karak knew she had already lost, not just the battle, but the war within herself. Without another word, he turned and walked away, leaving her behind. The battle still raged, but the tide had turned. The humans, with Karak's help, were pushing the Saraxians back, forcing them into retreat. When the dust settled, Karak stood among the human survivors, his body aching but his mind clear. He looked around at the soldiers who had fought beside him, at the faces of those he had once seen as enemies. Now they were his comrades. The humans had proven their strength, not through superior technology, but through their ability to change, to learn from their mistakes. Karak felt a strange sense of peace. He had come full circle, from a soldier of an arrogant, unyielding empire to a leader who understood the value of humility and collaboration. The Saraxians had fallen, not because of their technology, but because of their pride. Karak had learned that true strength came from the willingness to adapt, to embrace what was unfamiliar, even if it came from those once considered beneath him. As he gazed across the battlefield, Karak couldn't help but wonder what the future held. The war was not over, but this battle had shown that the humans could stand against the Saraxians. Perhaps, one day, the two races could fight together instead of against each other. But for now, Karak was content to stand with the humans, knowing that he had found his place among them. The battle had changed him, and in that change, he had found his true strength. He was no longer just a Saracian soldier, he was something more, something better. And in the quiet aftermath of the battle, Karak looked to the future with a sense of hope he had never known before.